welcome back. Today we'll be talking about getting work as an instructor. Today we'll be talking to Sam Smithson, who's been running Aqua Sports Training Centre in Surrey for 20 plus years. Sam is also a keen windsurfer. She's a windsurf trainer and a keen wing surfer as well.
But what other qualities do you look for in an aspiring instructor or in your staff?
Thinking specifically about people coming into the world of instructing. So when you first start out, you've done your instructor qualification and you've got your first job. I think for us, it's being open to learning. So don't be afraid to not know something. You when you first start, you've done your instructor course, you might think you're expected to know everything, and we know you don't. It's not a problem. So don't be afraid to say, I have no clue how to rig a windsurf sail, even although I just did my instructor course and I was supposed to learn it on the course. Yeah. That's okay. So be honest. But for us, the biggest quality, I suppose, is to be passionate about your sport. If you don't actually like water sports and you're just doing it because it's something to do as a job, then don't come to us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something I always encourage to instructors is when they're at a centre to kind of, after work, you try and get out on the water and the kit, go for a sail, go for a windsurf. The more that sort of stuff they do and the more passionate they grow for themselves, the better the instructor they become.
Absolutely. There's a lot of sharing, so reciprocal learning goes on amongst the team anyway. So, dinghy sailors will teach a windsurfers to dinghy sail and vice versa. So there's quite a lot of that goes on, which is great.
So moving away from just the instructors themselves, what challenges do instructors and yourself find about running a centre day to day? What do you think are the challenging things?
Well, I suppose the challenges for me as the owner and the principal are probably different to your average challenges. So I'm gonna take it back a few steps to I suppose the classic one is the weather. Whether you work in lovely sunny Greece or lovely sometimes sunny UK, the weather is not always going to play ball with what you're trying to do. And the hardest thing, you turn up for work, you've got 30 kids coming in from a school group, and the forecast is for liquid sunshine from 9 until 3. So you know that you're going to get wet, the kids are going to get wet. Any type of briefing or standing around is going to get them sort of miserable. And how do you plan your day? So I think for us, it's whether or not enough wind, too much wind, too hot, not hot enough, too cold, it's never right. But perhaps behind the scenes more for new instructors is learning how to deal with the motivation of your student. I remember crying the first time I taught a school group. I came off the water quietly, inwardly crying because they didn't seem to care. They didn't want to learn to windsurf. I don't even know why they were there. And learning that actually that's normal and that's quite often a school scenario, and that it's not my job to make them do the skill. So over the years, I realized that my job was to just get them to enjoy being on the lake. And if they didn't learn quite what I wanted them to learn, that didn't matter, because they would grow up thinking, wait, windsurfing's really good fun. And then they might at some point actually learn to do it properly. So motivation was quite an interesting one. And then the other further along, as you start to deal with parents, is expectation. So managing people's expectations is really hard when you're a new learning instructor. So those would be the challenges, I think, for people.
What would you say to those instructors who are struggling to help those parents manage those expectations? What would you give them as a useful tip?
Don't try and answer all the questions yourself. Get an SI's help if you're not sure, if it's a really tricky parent. And the one we always say is, when you finish with your group, always make sure you do your debrief with the parents. So when you say to the group, what have you learned today? And they go, yeah, we played whatever. You can say, yeah, and while you were doing that, you were learning to sail upwind. And then the parent realizes that the kids weren't just playing games, they were actually learning something along the way. And it's that's the expectation. We've had parents coming going, my child just played games all for the last 2 days. We're like, okay, but within these games, they were doing X, Y, and Z. So it's learning to speak to the parents at the same time as the children and manage their expectations that way.
What advice would you give to somebody who's applying for a job at your centre or another centre?
So I've got some good ones for this. So first of all, at an interview, just be enthusiastic, show your enthusiasm. You know, that's all we really want, is to see that you have the capacity to be enthusiastic and friendly, show that you have a friendly disposition. If you're shy, and I've run enough instructor courses to know that there are plenty of shy young people out there, just find your instructor persona. Because if you've come to an interview, you've somehow managed to pass an instructor course. So whatever you use to shine on that instructor course, use it at interview, because that's what we want to see, is whether you can be a good instructor. My other top tip, which is a really good one, is when you do an instructor course, just because you've done this course and passed doesn't mean to say you are a qualified instructor. Please ensure that you have completed all your admin and you have received your instructor qualification from the RYA. That would be my top tip.
And then finally, I guess the key question is, why is working as a water sports instructor such a great career choice? Why would you recommend it to anyone?
I would recommend it to anyone for two reasons. First of all, life is too short to spend it doing something that doesn't make you happy. So I would find a job in something that makes me happy. And if water sports makes you happy, then how great is that, to be working in an environment that you actually enjoy your job in? I think if you want to make it a career choice, you need to think much bigger than being an instructor. So a career choice is a pathway towards management, towards becoming a senior instructor, and you have to develop really all-round skills to do that. But that said, there's a shortage of that level of management that are really good on the water, but also really good behind the scenes. And, paperwork, it's SOPs, risk assessments, all of that stuff. There's a lot more to being an instructor if you're going to make it a career choice.